Welcome to our Sacred Self-Healing Community meeting, current energies for December 2017. Welcome and thank you everyone for coming. Quick audio check. Can you guys hear me all right? Wonderful. All right. All right. What a wonderful day today. I don't know, can you feel this too? Today is November the 18th here in the Northern Hemisphere. New moon, and what a shift. Can you guys feel this too? Hang on, let me unmute your microphones real quick, because I really want this to be more of a discussion than rather than me just sort of lecturing. You guys see me on video every week. Aren't you getting tired of me anyway? Oh, gosh. All right, I'm unmuting you guys here. I'm still clicking. Hang on a sec. Oh, yeah, welcome. People are still logging on. Okay. And if you breathe into your microphone too much, or if you have background noises, then just mute your microphone, because we have all that on the recording. Yeah, awesome. All right, so can you guys feel the shift as well? A lot of people said yes, but I'm not sure if that was the answer to can you hear me, or can you hear this? Can you feel the shift? Does anybody want to share? Okay, that's all right. You don't have to share.
Well, no, I feel the shift. It's Brian. Hey.
Hi, Brian. Yes.
Hi. Yeah.
Some people are saying like it feels like a new beginning. I mean, we say this kind of like every month, right? There's a new beginning coming, and it's usually around new moon, which is the end of an old cycle and bringing in fresh energy. And that's why I like doing the sharings for the current energies around new moon, just so you guys know. So it's always more of sort of the second half of the month and the first half of the coming month these days. This shifts throughout the year.
I felt like I was looking through a dirty windshield, and whatever washed it, and I could see things a little better now, a little clearer.
Yeah. What is if you would have to put like sort of the last 4 weeks or month into like category of energies or whatever you were going through, Brian, what did it feel like to you these last weeks?
Oh, well, I was in the red zone in the energetic scale for sure. Pretty much.
All right, let me clarify. While you're talking, I'm just going to bring this up here so everybody knows what we are referring to when we talk about red and blue zone. Oops, that's not what we're talking about. However, this is what we need. So you were in a red zone. What was the predominant
just
emotion?
a lot of things. Well, a lot of things just bringing up past experiences, and I think looking back, there might have been just a lot of reframing going on. But in order to reframe, sometimes you have to have the past brought up again, or so you can reframe it and look at it from a different perspective. So there's a lot of that going on, a lot of reminding myself to keep looking at things from there's always a different perspective. So I had to keep reminding myself of that.
Okay, that's actually kind of cool. That means you've actually, I mean, you've said it already. You're looking through a much clearer windshield now. So that means there's some insight, some clarity coming in.
Yeah.
Things that you see differently now because you're able to see it from two perspectives or more than just one, right?
Yeah, well, some of us also realizing that we are experiencing a lot of collective energy stuff too. So
yeah,
there's a lot of putting things in different perspectives because of that factor alone.
Yeah, this was pretty. I mean, we started the month, or this 4 or 5 week cycle, with me reminding everyone to find the third option. Remember, you know, to find, to not get hooked or locked into this the dualism of our ego, you know, which always kind of sees things as black or white or good or bad or, you know, progress or regress or something along those lines, right? Anything like, you know, like reminding us, you know, sort of that we're not good enough, or that this is bad, or the system is bad, or anything in that direction. And to find the third option, what I meant with this last month, if you listen to last month's recording, I'm pretty sure it's in there. You know, I was talking about really trying to enter this realm of neutrality. It's by the way, the red zone is this here, what Brian referred to, and the blue zone is this. We just simplify it that way. But to arrive in the state of neutrality, and this takes a lot of courage in letting go and trying and accepting and, you know, looking again and then detaching again. And so this is kind of like, these were the energies that were coming in the last 4 weeks. And many
I
of
found
us,
it.
yeah.
Oh, sorry, Cheryl. And I found the knowledge of what you had just said about the third option and about paying attention, and it was, well, I shouldn't say was, because I don't think it's gone yet, but the mental looping that came with that,
Uh-huh.
because then I
Very
was
strong
the
last month. Yeah.
experiencer and the observer of it at the same time. And so
Mm-hmm.
it was almost like I was cranking my own frustration level because I was aware of it, and then I'd get pissed at myself because I was hooked back in it, and then that would just perpetuate it again and again. And yeah, I just felt like I was so agitated and bubbling at my own insanity, and uh, it was really nice. The last 2 days we've had some really great transmissions. So I've had a break for like, what's that, 24 hours almost, and I've had a smile on my face, which is really refreshing. But what an interesting game to play over and over and over again.
Yeah,
That
last
felt
month was
like a
very
dog
much.
chasing its own tail, you know.
Exactly,
Yes.
Brian. That's
Yeah.
exactly what it is.
The looping and looping and looping and looping. And for
Yeah.
some people it was more emotional, but for most people it was actually mental. And that of course included, you know, this constant double guessing, doubting, rehashing, regurgitating things. Oh, and maybe not, and maybe yes, and maybe I should go, or maybe I should stay, or, you know, maybe I, you know, like all this over and over and over again, all with emotions or behind the canvas of injustice, of the pain of the past, and really sort of being being forced to look at, you know, the patterns that are involved, some of which were karmic for a lot of people, because this looping, every time we get into looping, you know, it's when we're incongruent with something within ourselves, and that means that we're cooking in our own juices. That was one of my favorite um, diagnosis throughout these last weeks, you know, like cooking in our own juices and not being able to get out of there. And the solution came in the last 2 weeks, and that was, you know, really looking at our coping mechanisms and understanding the difference between dealing and coping. You know, there's a big difference between dealing with an issue when it comes in, or just sort of getting by, you know, just trying to get through it. That's coping. And this is where most of our issues are located, because no matter how aware we are of our patterns, of our own, you know, behavior patterns and so forth, belief systems, it's these really strong coping patterns that we have developed over our lifetime, and most of which really were developed when we were children. All right, and we're not even aware of it. They are our blind spots. So for the past 2-3 weeks, it was all about breaking through those blind spots and observing ourselves, how we are actually, or if we're actually dealing with things the way they are, or if we have still, and we all do, you know, just to make that clear, and I agree here with Cheryl, this is kind of like a never-ending process. But if we have mechanisms in place that prevent us from being able to see things, prevent us from being able to change things, sometimes prevent us from being able to have the courage, the power to change things, but oftentimes actually sabotaging ourselves. And a lot of that last month was here in victimhood, victimizer, self-punishment, depression, a lot of people in fear and in pain. Yeah, and some, you know, of us have coping mechanisms that are quite tricky because, see, if we have issues with fear or victimhood, a lot of times the reason why we can't get out of them is because of what lays above. Okay, what lays above is the healthy expression of anger, and you know, allowing some of that stored, you know, be it disappointment, rejection, or whatever, to come forward so that we can get past it. And most of us, especially females, do not allow ourselves to be angry, and we go into this sort of perverted variation of anger, you know, disdain, sarcasm, resentment, and then this begins to attack ourselves again, you know, and this then sort of concludes the cycle. All right, and so we keep using the same coping mechanisms for the same issues, and that's why we have this looping effect within ourselves. And then some of us have, you know, like have evolved out of anger and have no problems with expressing anger in a healthy or unhealthy way, but better, you know, a little bit than nothing, and get stuck in judgment. So that's when then our critical inner voice takes over and really torments us. So even when we can get out of this loop here, then a lot of us get stuck in control and inner judgment. All right. So the whole energy of this last month was all about truth coming in. Truth wanted to come in, and the solution was here in the courage to accept the things the way they are. And only if we had that acceptance and the willingness to see things the way they are could we experience this actually as a positive momentum. If we got stuck here on this glass ceiling underneath truth in the red zone, as Brian mentioned it, it was like molasses. It was just like, I don't know, you guys give it names, but it wasn't a very pleasant experience the last month. But if
No,
we were,
it was actually like a mixture of everything. Of victimhood, of coping, of not allowing space, of standing ground, of I feel like this last month lasted maybe a year. So many things happened. So many things happened, and then excitement, everything, a mixture, a mixture.
it's interesting you say this, Kasia, because you know we had the True Self session this morning, and you were there as well, and I felt the same thing about the True Self session this morning. It felt like, in a good way, it felt like we went through the entire journey, I mean, through everything in like light speed. And luckily at the half of the session, which is a huge success energetically, okay, we arrived here, and this was so beautiful. You know, it was such a beautiful session, because we went through all of this, you know, with the courage and the willingness. In this particular session this morning, it was the willingness of the participants that allowed this to happen. This was the strongest healing resonance that came in, and that's something that we will need for the next 4 weeks. All right. So Once we get past truth, and truth, this is also for those of you who are in the etheric protection intensive right now, this is the first barrier. This is the first barrier of our perception. It is the one that binds us to collective energies, that binds us to collective group karma. And with it, you know, the red zone and all these experiences. And if we know how to get past that threshold here, that first barrier of perception, ego perception, deception, remember this was all theme of last month, then, you know, the healing begins, the connection with true self begins, and inner guidance begins, you know, empowerment begins. Congratulations to one of our listeners here today for quitting your job after 22 years.
Oh, wow.
Getting a new job the same day.
Oh, wow.
So this is what I mean with, like,
Sheila.
yes, you got to, no, it's not.
Oh, no?
There's several of you guys who shared this with me in energy coaching or the workshop or whatever. But it's this, you know, you've got to have that courage to leave the red zone, and then, you know, a new door opens. The problem is you can't see the door when you're in the red zone. It's always been there. And one of the participants of the True Self session today said something really, really cool. Let me see, are you here? No. She said, you know, the first True Self session that I did with you was like in, I forgot, March or April. And you said something to me back then. You said, you know, your inner guidance is fully developed. Everything is right there, right in front of you. And, you know, you just really got to trust in this. And this is now 6 months ago, and there was a lot of up and down that happened in the meantime, only for her to arrive at that exact same spot again. But now seeing it, and now believing it. Okay?
That's cool.
This is what this barrier here, this first and most important barrier, what that does to us. It is, like you said, Brian, it's like a foggy windshield. You know, your intention, you know, your GPS may be, you know, here, you know, this is where we all want to be. You know, we all want to be in love and healing and abundance and health, you know, but when we have a foggy windshield, what do you think happens? You know, you cannot read the inner guidance, the you know, the guidance that comes from your GPS. You know, it keeps on sending you into reroutes, okay? And you just, like, you don't even realize how you constantly go in circles. It isn't until you get past that fear. And one of my, I guess, most famous quotes is, you know that you're ready for change when the pain of staying there gets bigger than the fear of changing. Because that's all that comes down to. It's in our human nature to be held back by the fear of the future. That's all right. And to be held back by the pain of the past. So the pain of the past is what creates the fear of the future. Okay? And this is what sort of refuels the loop. All we need to do is stand still for a moment and be totally present in the moment, in our heart. And then all that can dissipate. When I was 18 and I was doing my driver's license, and in Europe, you know, you have to take like 30 driving lessons. It's mandatory. And the first couple of times I stepped into the car, I was terrified. And for all these weeks that I had these driving lessons, I had these terrible nightmares. And it was that, like, I could not control this car. It was going so fast, and there was like rain, and there was fog, and there was darkness, and I was just trying to speed through all that. You know, for weeks, my recurring theme in my dreams was this high adrenaline, oh my God, I'm going to crash into something, but I can't see where I'm going, and yet pushing the gas pedal. And that's when I realized all I really need to do is to slow down. In fact, if I don't know where I'm going, then all I really need to do is reset and go back into my center and take a 5-second timeout. And then it comes back again. Then the whole system resets, it reboots, and it comes back again. And then you can feel like, the space, Gosha, that you mentioned, begins to open up.
I know I've progressed a lot in my journey because this past around, looking through the foggy windshield this past month, I didn't go into beating myself up. It's like I noticed I was there. And so I allowed myself just to experience whatever. And even the times that I pulled out of chasing my own tail, so to speak, I didn't beat myself up. I was like, oh, okay, I'm doing this now. Okay, now I can do it. Whereas months before, that would have been a whole other cycle, just beating myself up and making myself bad for, even doing that. But now that I've been able to acknowledge that I'm doing it as I'm doing it, I'm not beating myself up over it, though.
This is a big one for most of us here in the self-healing community. Thank you for sharing this with us, Brian. It's the neutrality. It's arriving at this place where nothing is really changing yet. It's not like, and we don't really have a fix yet. We may not even know what the problem is, but we're at least arriving at a place where we can accept that, okay, all right, I can see my patterns now. Oh, I can see how this is coming. Oh, I can see the victimhood kicking in. Oh, I can feel, how my energy wants to go into guilt, or how I want to go into anger, and how, we get pulled into places. We can watch it happen, but we don't necessarily have to experience it in its severity. It's the difference between the experiencer. The experiencer is locked into this area, and the observer is the one that can actually see it, what is going on. Okay, so it's kind of like this. And the witnesser is the one that can observe. Sorry, it's not that easy. I don't have a tablet or anything. The witnesser is the one that can be in all states at the same time, but without needing to latch on, buy into, get attached, and neutrality is the gateway to that. Yes.
Can you, Cheryl, can you please explain the difference between the observer and the witnesser?
Yeah, feel this yourself a little bit. It is one thing. Well, I think we all know the difference between the experiencer and the observer, right? I mean, the experiencer is the one that is caught in the experience. You are. I mean, it's like, you cut your finger and and this is all you can. This is your entire scope of perception. It's the pain and the blood and the sensations that you have. That's the experiencer. The observer is the one that stands right next to it, that is completely detached from it, almost cut off, because it's not experiencing what the other person experiences. All right? You can stand there and look at it and say, oh, she cut her finger and she's bleeding. And as an observer, you have access to more abilities because you're not caught in the experience. So you can actually go and get the Band-Aid, or call 911 or whatever, because you're not locked into the experience. That's what the observer provides for us. The witnesser is the one that can experience it and observe it at the same time, and acknowledge it, that this is what's going on right now. And therefore going into full acceptance with what is going on. which is yet a higher vibratory place. You know, it has to do with not resisting what is going on, all right, and therefore providing even more skills or higher vibratory abilities to handle the situation. The observer, and this is the problem for most of us, because most of us here are on the mental side of things. Okay, the observer does not really get you past 6, 7, or 8. You know, it allows you to see things. It allows you actually to understand a few things better and gain clarity, and even, you know, to have compassion and all that. But it is not yet, you know, the higher power that you have, because the higher power, and this may sound a little illogical when I say it this way, but the higher power can actually prevent you from cutting your finger in the first place.
So 6, 7, 8 is, you're still on the mental side?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So the first barrier, let me erase this here a little bit. Okay, the first barrier of perception is truth, and basically everything below truth is deception. And also non-integrous. Everything above truth has integrity in it, but still uses the mind as a vehicle. This doesn't change until like around here. Okay. Until we hit this second barrier, or overcome the second barrier, which is the one that links us into our heart field, to our higher vibratory perception, which is the one that is not based on our brain mind anymore. It is the heart mind, which means it includes the brain. You know, it's not like you have to cut out your brain and become totally irrational. You know, it's not that way. It is, but it is not bound to the linearity of our brain mind. All right, and therefore it can perceive such things as precognitive energies. You know, everything, of course, intuition, seventh sense, the stuff that I talked about the last couple of weeks, divine consciousness, all these things that we have to describe with words that don't quite fit, but you know, they give us an idea. It is the part in us that is able to perceive and process holographic information. And that does not happen until a person is actually able to be present in their heart at will. I don't want to say at all times, because sometimes we choose not to. That's all right. Because remember here, when you get out of the red zone, even if you just get to here, you know, at least you have a choice now. You know, this neutrality, Brian, that you mentioned, gives you a choice. It's not a guarantee that you only make these serene, divine choices in your life, but you do have a choice, and you actually feel that you have a choice, right? Here, you know, you're not really making choices anymore. Things are not that dualistic anymore. You know, this is the place, and I know this is difficult to understand, especially if we are tied to metaphysics and spirituality with our brain mind, because it can't go there. This is the place where things such as everything is perfect the way it is come from. Everything is perfect the way it is does not mean to suck up injustice or to tolerate things that shouldn't be tolerated, or you know, to be a codependent or have a lack of boundary. No, that's not what that means. Everything is perfect the way it is means recognizing higher power in everything and seeing the greater purpose of things as we are witnessing them. See, if we are limited to the experiencer, we cannot see the greater purpose in things. if we experience depression, we don't want to be here. And that's all we can feel. And there is absolutely no exception to this. It doesn't matter how much metaphysical knowledge you have or what your intentions are. If you are in a deep state of pain or depression, life is dark. Okay, period. You're bound to that. You're limited to that. And you have no means to get yourself out of that. You have to bit by bit sort of work yourself out of that, you know, and get past these other, gradual barriers. When you are in understanding, and here still, you know, this is still a little intellectual, but it helps to contextualize things, right? Here you can recontextualize. Here you can say, oh, this is just a phase that I'm going through. See, this is where the energy updates are located in. This is why I'm doing them, because it gives people like you, you know, who have already crossed the barrier of truth, who can already feel truth. You may not be able to discern truth at all times, but you can feel truth, all right? To give you guys empowerment, because by me sharing some of these collective tendencies and so forth, it helps you to contextualize what you are experiencing. And it makes it easier for you to get through things, because you're starting to feel that you're not alone, all right? And this helps you to get past this one here, because, you know, what binds us to, you know, the red zone and some of the mental attachments that we have is the separation that we feel within. Is feeling. And you know, don't mistake this as a psychological statement, but feeling as individuals. See, there's a psychological process that we all have to go through, which is called individuation. That's a very important process in our consciousness development. That's supposed to happen, you know, between the age of 6 and 16. Okay. When I talk about separation in individualism here, you know, in a spiritual, metaphysical sense, I'm talking about seeing ourselves separated from the whole. And as soon as we can actually enter this heart awareness, this heart consciousness, then our separation dissolves. This is the glass ceiling for a lot of people here. You know, the isolation. And when we get past this isolation, or when we write about, you know, leaving that place, it's a very vulnerable place again, because we are in our hearts now, and we are very empathetic. That's why I talk so much about energetic sensitivity and being an empath, because it's a very vulnerable state in the consciousness development, because all of a sudden we become prey again, you know, to people who take advantage of our empathy and so forth. And this is where a lot of us, you know, bounce back either into specialness again, which then, you know, makes us end up in our spiritual ego, or, you know, into this injustice, a victimhood, you know, those kind of patterns. All right, and here the one of the strongest healing resonances is to surrender this individualism and really see yourselves in conjunction with others, in synergy with others, and the fields. You know, this is where field work begins. Group work and so forth. This is where collaboration, cooperation, you know, working together, doing things together and so forth, where that comes in. Let me bring up another version of this vibratory scopes, this vibratory scale here. Okay, so this is the same chart, but now with with the healing resonances that are needed to transcend each of the states and some of the barriers or the resistances that we find there. Okay, and so when we get to this place, you know, we're still, okay, let's go back. Once we've left the ego deception, you know, the distortion of our perception that binds us to the collective, all right, then, you know, the first barrier hump is humbleness, because, you know, up until here, you know, we a big part of our coping mechanism is specialness, and so we get a bit humiliated. But this is a very healthy process in our consciousness development, and then we have to learn to trust in that. And as we continue going, we have to learn to forgive. And this is not just, you know, and mainly not about others, forgiving others, but mainly forgiving ourselves and going into the softness of our empathy, you know, of our heart-centeredness. And the next layers or healing resonances that then begin to embrace us, they embrace us, is self-love, surrender, and oneness. And these are the ones that are needed to really arrive in our heart, for the most part, as a way of living. As a way of living. This doesn't mean that we always choose, you know, to be in unconditional love. You know, if we encounter someone who's attacking us, you know, and this now maybe explains the difference between, or the you know, the discernment between experiencer, observer, and witnesser. You know, when we say we encounter somebody who's attacking us, someone who is here in this state of being, not only foresees that, meaning can see it coming long before it's actually happening. That's the witnessing that allows you to do that. This person is also able to divert that energy, or to allow that energy to go through them without feeling attacked or without feeling hit, something that we've experienced co-facilitating the energetic projection transmission earlier. This is an ability that doesn't even unfold for us until we get here into our heart consciousness. All right, and then, you know, witnessing takes on a whole different dimension. And then statements such as, everything is perfect the way it is, all makes perfect sense. But when we are in fear or in pain or in anger or even in control and judgment, everything is perfect the way it is, makes absolutely no sense. Which is also why, and I've mentioned this in the energy updates a few times, it's useless to try to convince people who are stuck in their ego of any of these higher vibrational concepts. You know, there's people who use their minds to understand some of the concepts, and there's a logic to them, you know, but they'll still not be able to experience them because it's only in their mind. It's kind of like an isolated satellite, like a fragment. And they're even able to experience bliss and these states once in a while. And this is fantastic because, you know, I guess this is why most of us are here, because we've had these experiences and we know these states exist within us. It's what pulls us into the future. That's our true self prompting to go there, because we know this place exists and we want to be there. But on the way there, you know, even if we make it past our ego, you know, we conceptualize things too much, we mentalize things too much, and that pulls us back into the red zone. So if we truly want to liberate ourselves from this collective implant that we all have, you know, that binds us to dualism, then we do need to accept that our mind cannot get us there. it will become here, starting here, it's a limitation, and we cannot get past it. Not with the mind. This is sort of this mind barrier. All right, so that's kind of like what we've been experiencing a bit here. The the struggle down here, and this will continue. And and you know me, I'm always truthful about this, but I don't really see this as a negative thing. The next 2 years are not going to be easy. All right, and last year I said the next 3 years are not going to be easy. But the next 2 years are going to be about liberating ourselves from the deception of the ego, collectively as well as individually. And this means that we have to really take these kind of healing resonances seriously if we want to. I mean, all of them, right? Because they all appear or a cure. But we cannot do this on our own, all right? Communities, collaboration, synergy, and sharing, win-win-win, all these type of things, these are all concepts with a higher level of integrity than dog eats dog and me better than you and my team, your team. Those are all old paradigm type of values, all right? They will not allow us to evolve out of this collective experience. So this means we have to trust, and we have to kind of let go of our mind. And yes, Julianne, we have to trust in our knowing, not our knowledge. All right, and this is something that we've kind of all understood or have been understanding for a long time, but now it's about implementation. All right, so in summary, what we can expect the next month, coming out of this sort of fog, all right, having just crawled out of that fog of deception, and it's not just our inner limitation. I always want to make sure you understand this. Collective energies, they are a mirror of our personal energies, or our personal energies are a mirror of the collective energies. So you can't really separate the two from another, which means there is outer deception going on as well. Last week, very, very strong, really strong, like sort of seventh chakra overlay, making it very hard, including headaches and so forth, and sinus infections, making it really hard to trust in our inner perception, because there was so much overlay, through the collective. But coming out of this pit now, and experiencing this shift that is going on right now. So this is a tiny little shift, but it is a great shift. And oftentimes, these small little shifts can actually be just enough, for us to transcend, where we get caught in, and use this as a jump board. And this is what I want you guys to understand, that this is all just about accepting that it's a bit by bit process. All right? And it's not like climbing up a ladder. Forget about that. Because all these states, they all exist within you at the same time at all times. Remember? All places are here. All times are now. This is all going on at the same time. So it's really just a matter of being able to feel it and being able to tune into this. And this is what this energy training here is about. Training you to gain so much confidence and trust in your own energy that you actually feel the power of choice.
I keep reminding myself that what I'm going, or what all of us right now are going through, because we're doing the work right now, we're going to be able to help others. Like a year from now, when the shit's hitting the fan for them or whatever, we're going to be there for them to help them get through it.
Yeah, Brian, thank you for mentioning this. As a matter of fact, we're already doing this. And you may ask yourself, well, how can I be of, how can I do something for the collective if I'm still going through my own shit? Well, I can tell you how, because your alignment is here. And this is already adding to the collective field. And this is not linear. This is exponential, which means that everybody who makes this jump here can compensate for hundred thousands of people. This jump here can compensate for 1 million people who are caught in the red zone. I mean, here you can compensate for hundreds of millions of people, and here you can actually compensate for the entire population of this planet. This is like avatar energy, Jesus, and so forth. All right, and this is actually going on. So due to the alignment of the field that you and I and everybody here creates, we are already adding to the collective evolution. But it is not anything that we or our ego could take credits for. We do this because we are propelled by our true self, by our higher power to go there. And this is why we're doing this. The higher power, the true self, the whatever, divine consciousness is in everybody though. So everybody receives the prompting, but at this point, only 10–15% of the population will ever do anything about it. However, once there's a critical mass, I talked about this in the last energy update on Thursday, right around 30%. If 30% of the population actually, lives and loves in truth, and it doesn't have to be up here, just in this area, our entire world is changing. And this is the process that we're in right now. This is what they call global awakening. So as of right now, we have these massive amount of people who are waking up to their energetic sensitivity, who are beginning to feel the prompting to go spiritual with it in whatever way. All right, no judgment here, and work on this. All right, we're being pulled into our future. This is already going on, and we'll actually see some of this now live here at the end of November. So this whole, liberating truth, if you will, movement, okay, is in full process. I mean, think back a year from now, like not a year from now, last year around this time. This was right after the elections here in the United States. A whole different situation than there is now. No matter how you judge it, but everything that has been going on this year was all about the revelation of truth, whether we like it or not. And there's still a lot of things that needs to be uncovered, and yes, and very fast. And this is unstoppable and self-corrective.
I actually feel great to listen to you. I don't know. I feel this energy inside of me, like I'm gonna explode with something. Like I feel like I have great news, which I don't, but I feel like I do.
Oh God, that's beautiful, gosh.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah. I'm really like listening to you, and it's like accumulating inside, like a positive volcano. I don't know.
Yeah, this is in you. Okay, this is in all of us. I'm speaking to this part of you. All right, and that's the one you need to remember. I said here, when we get into this place, this is when we begin to realize the freedom that we have, the freedom of choice. Not to demotivate you, but once you get here, you realize that you actually don't have a choice, but then it doesn't matter anymore. That's a whole different discussion. And in the past, you guys have access to all the recordings in the forum. Go back to old recordings. I mean, they're not old. You know, they're awesome. There's a lot of really cool stuff in recordings from the past months where we discussed these higher vibratory energies. But, you know, this is what we're going to witness now. I hope that we will witness this and not get caught in the limited version of the experience. The liberation of our entire collective in these next 2 years. And this will happen much faster than people can imagine. And this next month may not be such a good example of that, because we're like, it's the last hurrah of the old paradigm, okay? So there's a clash possible, direct confrontation, military action. I told you at the beginning of the year that I don't really see like a big world war or something, but I do see military action here towards the end of November and beginning of December. This may not be so nice for some of the areas where you guys live. You know, it's difficult to foretell because there are so many different crises going on in almost all continents, where it will blow up first, but it will blow up somewhere. You know, this really going into, you know, protecting the borders, protecting the boundaries, security stuff, you know, more and more restriction. We'll feel the restriction, okay? I can't put words on this, how this is going to, but remember how we first felt after September 11th when they started to clamp on the airline restrictions, you know, when we couldn't take any liquids anymore, blah, blah, blah. We'll feel that it will be in the name of our safety, but it won't be true to us, and it isn't. But, you know, this is what's, so they're clamping down on us here towards the end of the year, and we will feel this in us, all right? But at the same time, and this is the beauty of all of this, guys, and I've been predicting this for so many years, and this is happening now, okay, is that there's the counter movement, the antidote is already in the making. And I know you guys may think that I'm a little bit crazy, you know, when I say things like, it's the whole cryptocurrency, Bitcoin movement that is going to do this. No, this is it. This is it, guys. And not because of the money aspect of it, but because of the spirit that's behind it. For the first time in humanity, oh, I don't know, I can't speak, you know, I don't know how it was like 30,000 years ago. I think there were societies where this was actually manifested, but I'm not talking about the collective. There's a movement here that is based on integrity. It's above truth. It doesn't mean that every company in there, no, 95% of it is trash, is not integrous. But the idea of it and the whole movement around it and the key players in it, they are providing the tool for a new structure in our society. And this is happening right now. You will witness the beginnings of a total restructuring of our societies within these next 4 or 5 weeks. No kidding. Okay, so this is extremely exciting if you are able to be the witness of it. Now, will it have negative impact on your personal life in some areas? Yeah, you know, if they get past, if they pass this new tax bill here in the United States, you know, and they will clamp down on us. You know, there will be a lot of things that we won't be allowed to do, and blah blah blah, and there will be a lot of discussion, a lot of regulation, a lot of fights, and you have to see past all that. Be neutral. Remember when Brian said in the beginning, you know, just watch it all happen. Don't latch on to it. It's only temporary. Okay? Make sure that you are in the right alignment. Okay? And that you don't get caught in the red zone, and that you don't latch on there. And even if it's just judgment and control, you know, don't go there. Just allow yourself to witness all of that and be in awe. Because in 5 years from now or 10 years from now, but already in 5 years from now, we're going to look back and we're like, wow, do you guys remember when all this happened? Yes. This is the times that we live in here right now. It's extremely exciting, but it will have, you know, growing pains, obviously. So my recommendation for you here, my energy tip for you for the end of the second half of November and the beginning of December is first of all, take full responsibility for your truth. Own your energy, know your energy, and be integrous in your energy. When I say be integrous, I don't mean this from a moral standpoint. I mean this from an energetic standpoint, meaning be congruent. Do not agree with things that you already know don't work for you. Don't say yes when you mean no. This makes your energy non-integrous and therefore below truth. So just don't, okay, give you an example. You know what? I've made so many examples. Guys, who has a good example for being incongruent with yourself? I'm sure you guys can share something from your own life. When are we incongruent? What's a good example for being incongruent? Who wants to share? This is a question that came. An example for incongruence.
I can share.
Go ahead. Whoop, you're gone. Okay, gosh, I can't hear you. I hope it's not me. Haven't been kicked out. Okay, here's an example.
I can't hear Gosha either. I don't know.
Okay, Gosha, something happened. Okay, but I'm going to read some of the comments. Yes, and you can also text us here. Okay, the idea of homeschooling my kids. Yes, that's a great idea, but not for me. All right. So and still doing it. Okay, why do you do this? Oh, because you think it's cool, because you think it's special, because you. I'm not speaking for you, Eloise. I'm just saying, you know, this is why we do things, because of what the others think, because of we think it has some kind of whatever in the eyes of others. You know, it has some meaning, and therefore we're doing things that we actually don't want to do. Each and every one of us that works a job that they hate is incongruent, period. Each and every one of us who is in a relationship that is toxic, that is actually not susceptible, not conducive for our energy to grow, that does not allow ourselves to liberate, you know, our energies out of old patterns, is incongruent. This doesn't mean that you have to like leave your partner or whatever, but it means you have to do something. You have to go into active self-healing. You have to go into active change. You have to cross this path and go into courage and change something. Other examples for incongruence.
Well, I know for me in the past is incongruent to keep going to the same job I was doing. On one hand, I enjoyed helping people, but the other hand, I did not like going to the building of the company that I worked in, and some of the people, you know, that come along with it. And so, you know, I just kept doing it the past few years, knowing that that wasn't the place for me anymore, but I wasn't really clear what action I needed to take to get out of that situation.
Right. And sometimes it is that way. You know, sometimes we just don't know. That's when we have to trust in our inner knowing and let go of trying to figure it out. You know, we have to let go of that, and we just have to sort of jump in the cold water sometimes and say, okay, you know, I'm making this choice now. I'm taking the right to make a choice, and then the solution will arrive. And sometimes we make compromises too, meaning that we willingly choose this because, you know, like say there's a timeline or whatever, You know, yes, I don't like the place that I live in, but I don't want to move because my kids are in school and I have to wait till my last child is like done with high school or something like that. That's a compromise. But then we don't need to feel like victims for the time that we are in that situation because we chose that situation. Right?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
No, I don't know what happened. Yeah, so I wanted to say how I'm incongruent in the job environment I'm in, and lately I've been actually concentrating on how I make choices in my life and what are they based on, and instead of like listening to my inner promptings, I'm kind of ignoring them, and I'm listening to what others have to say, and then my ego kind of latches onto it. And
Yep.
and then like there's this looping, you know, like this inner fight,
It's just, yeah.
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 So I decided actually to actually this morning we had a beautiful conversation with Sheila and Brian right before True Self Transmission, which we actually meeting every week for past 3 weeks.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's really great. And I just realized that I'm gonna go back to waitressing. I'm gonna be around breakfast, food type of gastronomy type where I can actually connect with people and talk to people. And for some time I thought it's like going backwards, doing something really, but I feel that prompting there, like just to be there, you know. Then I was scared that I'm gonna absorb some people's energy, and then
Oh, yeah, you will. But with all the tools that you have now, you know, it's not going to bother you.
exactly, that's what I came to conclusions in today. And so I was really incongruent um, in making choices based on, I knew what the truth is, but I made the choices anyway. And I really notice how I'm listening to my ego and my mind instead of following the heart. So we'll see what's gonna come up. I'm excited.
So you're witnessing you're witnessing the battle of your ego versus your heart, and that's a wonderful place to be in. Actually, I mean, don't feel like this is regress. I mean, this addressed to everybody. You know, being able into that and being able to observe this and to witness this, how these patterns actually grip in us, is a big step forward. And I want to just point out that those of you who still have a hard time understanding maybe what I'm talking about when I say incongruence, there is, for many of us, especially females, a way to actually feel this. A lot of us, and I'd love to hear, I mean, we have to come to an end here, but I would love to hear examples of that, if you have any. We'll actually feel it in our bodies. Who can feel it in their bodies when you are incongruent, when you're agreeing to something that you actually don't want, or when you're not doing what you already know you not should in a moral or mental sense, but you feel the prompting? Who of you, okay, Louise, if you feel it in your heart field, it constricts and it's painful, yes. In the throat, yes. So people are sharing, you know, and yes, this is exactly, you know, how you can tune into whether you can learn or not, because, you know, you guys are practicing how to stay in your heart. This is what this whole Sacred Self-Healing course is about. And so this is also a big part of your alignment. So what is going to happen now as you continue practicing that is that you will begin to become better and better at discerning. But it functions like muscle memory. You really have to stay on track with that, you know, and really sort of repeat over and over and over again, because due to the structure of our neurological system, it takes a little bit of time to break through some of these neurological barriers that we have. And then another thing that came forward this week in particular is positive feedback. All right, so you've got to go back into gratitude from time to time and appreciation, and really go into positive inner dialogue with your true self and say, hey, thank you for the prompting. You know, this worked really well. Oh my God, thank you so much. You know, thank yourself for trusting in your knowingness. Create a positive feedback cycle. And so to conclude the energy tips here for the second half of November and the first half of December, you know, this taking responsibility for your integrity and for your congruence, this will get you past some of these learning and growing pains that the collective is going through. And what this will lead to is that you become able to see that your sovereignty, okay, your birthright to claim your own space and to inhabit your own energy body, which most of the collective does not, all right, to really act on that and to arrive at this place where you are fully embodying your energetic being, your energetic self. When you do that, you will encounter shadow stuff once more, including coping, codependency, you know, these kind of things. But let me tell you that what happens when you can get past that. So the next 2-3 weeks, you're going to deal with shadow stuff, but the deeper part of it, the depth of our self-transformation, you know, redemption and stuff like that. Some of the deep damnation things that we feel within ourselves and punishment and so forth, which have all contributed to our shadow traits. Once you get past that, you're going to, and especially in the next 2-3 weeks, you're going to experience so many lucky and fortunate and spontaneously joyful moments that you never believed were possible. So for those of us who actually go into this active self-healing and the depth of the self-transformation, there's a huge reward there. Not reward as in, you know what I mean, you know, not as an ego reward, but as in like you're going to experience what I mean with a positive feedback cycle. You're going to make one fortunate choice after another, which will catapult you out of your old life within a matter of 3-4 weeks.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's going to get a little worse before it gets better, but no, not for you guys anymore, because you know you already understand the bigger picture. All right, here we're at this is all fine tuning now. All right, so this concludes my view of November and December energies. Do you have any questions? This is your moment here. I mean, you can always ask questions. You know this during the live energy updates, and they're on YouTube now. In case you don't know this yet, so I'm not doing a Facebook Live anymore. I'm doing YouTube Live now. So you're gonna have to go to YouTube and type in transCODES, and then you'll find my channel. And best is you subscribe to this channel, because then you get the notification when I'm going live. But it will be at the same time. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm sorry, but I noticed you had that graphic banned from Facebook. Is that what happened?
Well, there is several things going on right now with Facebook, but I had been planning on doing YouTube Live for a long time already. This just sort of pushed me over the edge, and I'm like, oh, I'm not dealing with this anymore. But you know, they have been changing the algorithms in Facebook and Google and YouTube as well for you know, censoring and weeding out certain posts and sometimes when I talk about certain things, so like when I was doing the energy update 2 weeks ago, I was talking about the female period, right? That tripped the algorithm. That got me. Then
Oh
I
my
talked
gosh.
about, I know, then I had, yeah, because all I said was that these women who are having a period right now are going to have a harder time, these next couple of days. Um,
Wow.
and then there was, I was talking about JFK, the JFK files, truth stuff, and these things get
Yeah.
stripped now. So this is our new reality, guys. Get used to that. Okay, this is what I mean with clamping down. It will all be in the name of our security and weeding out fake news. But in reality, it's the last hurrah of the old system, trying to suppress truth. So yeah, I run into these things because I don't care, and it's nothing that worries me. As a matter of fact, I commented this to many of you. I said I take this as a badge of honor. But I do have to be careful, and I always have been. This is sometimes why I describe things in a certain way, because I don't want to trip any of these algorithms. However, I was talking about truth and the consequences of truth, and then I cannot really talk around it. I have to actually name it, okay? So some of the things will continue to happen, and this doesn't, this doesn't really bother me, what's more important here is, and this is why I put this red band signature on these pictures, to increase the awareness in my readers that there is active censoring going on. All right, so that's why I do that. So I'm the one that puts the band on there, So what they do is they lock me down in Facebook for a week, and I can't share anything. Which means it like a normal distribution of an article will be like, I don't know, 10,000 readers or something, and if they lock that down, then only the people who actually go to my site will read it, which is only like, I have 16,000 subscribers, so, but there's like only maybe 1,000 or 2,000 people who read it, if at all. But you know what I mean. So they're clamping down on the distribution. So this is why I don't want to deal with this, and I'm also, as a result of that, probably I have my own Facebook group. I have not promoted that at all. I will probably begin to promote that, and just have my own group, and within that group I can do whatever I want to, But this is also why we have the sacred not the sacred self-healing, but the transCODES forum. And the community, and with the Heart Warriors Radio, which we will come out with soon, we're creating all new sort of radio towers, so that we don't become vulnerable to censorship. All right. So yeah,
Cool.
nothing to worry about, but it's you'll see me heavily promoting anything community, subscribing to YouTube, subscribing, getting a forum user, these communities, so that we can exist outside of Facebook, because Facebook is, as you all know, that's all matrix stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys can help me with that, because this needs to be shared. I can't do that. This is all, what, don't treat transCODES like a secret. Okay, that's old paradigm, guys. Oh, I have the special teacher there. No, I'm not a special teacher. This is all universal knowledge, and this is what people want.
But Jona, that's what's been coming as well. Like I feel when we sharing and during some transmissions, and even in the live broadcasting, I feel that we bonding all together stronger.
Yes. Can you feel that? This
Definitely.
is like, it's such a beautiful thing to observe, how this is growing, and the people are coming from all corners, I don't know who these people are, this is not personal, but they're coming from everywhere, because they can feel this too. And this is our power, guys. This is the new paradigm.
Part of the glory with that is to know at the deepest level of my core that I am not alone here. We could say those words, but it's a knowing, not a thinking. and it's beautiful. And like you said, people I don't know, I've never met, I've never heard of, but we're there, and I guess it's the field. It's beautiful.
And a big thank you to all of you, who come here to these meetings. I mean, this is the Sacred Self-Healing meetings are not public. Okay, so only people who are in the Sacred Self-Healing course can listen to this. All right, but you guys, all within your personal self-transformation journey, you have learned to share. You have learned to embrace this, and this transmutation that you have gone through is really transmitting out. So you are an integral part of this mission, if you will, of this quest. Never underestimate that. With everything that you share here or in the forum or anywhere, you are amplifying the signal. You're becoming a part of the grid. Okay. So thank you.
I'm proud to be part of it. It's great.
Yes, thank you all.
So let's look forward to the next 4 weeks. and again here, let's align to fortunate, spontaneous luck and joy.
I'm going to get my panda costume ready.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I love you.
Thank you.
I do. Thank you.
See you next
Love
month.
you. Thank you.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
bye-bye.
Bye-bye.